trick training not only gives you the opportunity to teach your dog something fun and useful, it also really helps boost your connection with your dog. I'm Caroline, certified animal behaviourist and dog trainer, and I am the founder of Marketplace. And today's expert series of videos, I'm going to be helping you to learn 3 new tricks with your dogs. We're going to be starting super simple and building up to something a little bit more fun. I want to thank Dorwest Herbs, experts in herbal pet care, for inviting me to present this series of videos. We really hope you enjoy today's video, and if we can help with anything at all, please do reach out to us. Our first trick is the sit. This might be something you've already worked on, but it's always great to re-go over the basics. It's a really simple first exercise to teach your young puppies, and it's a great way to build up a little bit of impulse control, a little bit of a static position with them. It's also a really nice alternative behaviour for your dogs to learn, as opposed to jumping up on you to greet you. So we're going to start off teaching this one, and then we'll move on to something a little bit more fun. When we're teaching our dogs a sit, we can use a couple of different methods. The first one is called capturing, and this is where the dog just happens to offer the behaviour in front of us and we mark and reward it. So if your dog sits in front of you naturally, you can just say yes or mark them with a clicker and then give them a treat for it. I'm going to show you how to use luring, which is where we use a piece of food to actually manoeuvre the dog into the position. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the treat onto our dog's nose and just tip it over their head. As their bum moves into that sit position, we click as their bottom hits the floor, or say yes or good, and then give them a treat for doing so. Once you've got a few repetitions in place and you feel like your dog is able to get into the position very quickly and easily, then we can put on a cue for it. So a verbal command that we can use to ask the dog to do the behaviour for us. So I'm going to use the word sit. I'm going to say this word, then lure the behaviour and then mark and reward it. Sit. Sit. We can then go for an empty hand without any food. And it may take you a few sessions to get to this point, but once your dog's starting to get the idea of that their bottom hitting the floor is the right behaviour to do, then you should be able to remove that food pretty quickly. Sit. Good girl. Eventually, you shouldn't need the hand at all. You should just be able to say the word and your dog will be able to do the behaviour for you. Sit. Sit. Good girlie. Ready? Go get it. Once you've got your sit nailed, then there's plenty of ways that you can build it up with a stay. So you can think about building some duration with your dog holds that position for a little bit of a longer time, some distance where you move away from your dog and then back to them to reward them, and distraction such as moving your arms around or perhaps teaching them in a different environment where there might be other dogs or other distractions in the outside world. Our next trick is the high five or the give a paw. In this one, we're going to be teaching our dogs to make contact with our hand with their paw. It's a really fun little trick to be teaching our dogs, so let's have a go at it. There's actually a number of different ways that we can teach a high five or a give a paw, but I'm going to show you one technique today, and hopefully this will work for you and your dog. So we're going to start with a piece of food within our hand, and we're going to offer it low near to our dog's paw. Hopefully what will happen is they'll want to investigate your hand where that treat is and try to get access to it. And when they do tap at your hand to try and get the treat, we're going to mark that because that's the sort of behaviour that we want to build up when we're looking for a high five. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking the moment that her paw makes contact with me, and then I'm giving her a reward for it. We can just start off by using the food because this is going to help the opportunity for our dogs to try the behaviour first. Then we will remove the food from our hand. So after you've had a few days of practice with this, then you can start working with an empty hand. So this is just offering your closed fist with nothing inside it to your dog. When they tap it with their paw, then you're going to mark them, reward them again. And then we'll build up to an open hand. So at this point, we've got our dog targeting our hand as it's facing towards them. This is like a give a paw or a shaking of paws. We want to then move our hand around so that we could eventually have it up higher, so our dog is stretching to give us a high five as opposed to a give a paw. So I'm starting with my hand positioned as it was before. I'm then going to move it slightly to the side. And then a little bit higher. Until the point you can have your hand completely upright. At this point, we've only been using our hand as the visual cue for the behaviour, but we'd also like to have a verbal word for this, because what we don't want is our dog coming up and trying to tap our hand all the time to get a treat because they think that they're doing a behaviour we like. So if we combine it with a verbal word such as high five or give me five, then that means that they're going to understand that they have to hear the word or the phrase as well as seeing that hand to be able to earn their reward. High five. High five. So you've nailed your sit, and now you've got to give a paw or a high five. Let's move on to teaching our dogs a spin. Our final trick for today is the spin. In this one, we're teaching our dogs to move in a 360-degree circle in front of us or at our side. Really useful for breaking up boring heel work practice or just giving your dog something fun to do on a walk. Teaching our dogs to spin, we want to make sure that they are feeling comfortable about the direction that they're turning in. So we're going to try one way and the other first to see which way your dog might feel more fluid and relaxed when they're moving. We're going to start off by luring this one. So taking a treat and putting it onto our dog's nose again. So you're going to start by teaching your dog to go round to one direction and the other and see which way they prefer. So Esri's a little bit smoother going around in this direction, so that's the one we're going to work on today. So for your dog, you may find that they find it a little bit tricky to do the full circle in one go. And if so, we can use what's called shaping, which is marking small stages towards that end goal of the complete circle. So if you're going to be doing that, you just want to mark them with either your clicker or your marker word like yes or good at little stages around the circle. So we gave 3 little treats as she was going around until she completed that full circle. Once your dog can do the full circle though in one go, then we want to just get some repetitions of that in place. If you have a real giant breed and you find that it's quite difficult to lure them in front of you because your arms can't stretch quite enough, then you can teach this next to you and use taking a big stride as part of the way to help you have more space to maneuver your dog. So we get our dog into sort of heel work position and we're going to start to lure them out, and as our arm gets to full extension we take a big step back, and that allows us a bit more space to maneuver our dog. But that really works best if you've got a giant breed. For those of you who've got smaller dogs, you can keep on working in the front of you. So the next thing we want to do is start to reduce the lure that we're using. So at the moment we're doing the full circle. We now want to go to maybe just about 2/3 or 3/4 of that circle and remove our hand out of the way once we've got there. So I'm luring round, I remove my hand, and as she comes back to the front, I mark her and then give her her treat. I go part way around the circle, remove my hand and bring it back and reward her in the front. Until you can get to the point where you could just use a finger flick to direct your dog either in one direction or the other. Now we want to think about what we want to call this behaviour. So I'm calling it spin, but you can call it twist or twirl, whatever you want the cue to be. It really doesn't matter. But think about the fact that you probably want to teach your dog both directions eventually. So having a different cue depending on which way your dog turns can be really useful. So I have spin for one direction and round for the other one. Spin. So I'm saying my cue first, then doing my visual signal to direct her in the right direction. Spin. And if I want to do the other direction, round. And she's going to move in that direction. At this point, we've just got our dogs doing one repetition, one full circle. But what you can do is build this up so they can do multiple circles and even get them to then do this on a mat in your home. This is a great way to get your dogs to wipe their feet after dog walks. From both myself and from Dorwest Herbs, we really hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you end up teaching your dog any of these tricks, we'd love to see a video or a photo shared over on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy training.